other have I none. I am He, I am He. Blessed Spirit, I am He. I am free, I am free. Blessed Spirit, I am free. I am free, I am free. Blessed Spirit, I am free. Hello, friends. Once again, I'm with you today, Nayaswami Hriman. I'm speaking to you from the Ananda community in Linwood, Washington, near Seattle. And today's broadcast is the unpublished writings of Paramhansa Yogananda. And once again, I have for you a poem I have chosen. And it's called simply Freedom. It was published by Yogananda in August of 1937. Karma binds me hand and foot, yet lo, I am free, ever free. Disease, try your tortures, yet I am free, ever free. Health, try your lures, yet I am free, ever free. Death, destroy my body prison, if you will, yet I am free, ever free. Long chains of desires forged in the furnace of incarnations have tried to bind me, but I escaped from life to life, and I am at last ever free, ever free. I enter through the rainbow into the free skies. I am free, ever free. None can bind me unless I bind myself. None can free me unless I know I am free. When I know naught exists to ever bind me, then I know I am free, ever free. Well, what does that mean to be free, ever free? Free from what? Somebody once remarked, hearing this concept, that, well, I live in America, don't I? Isn't it a free country? Aren't I free? Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about spiritual freedom. What does it mean when Christians say, be saved by the blood of Christ, or I am saved? Well, I don't want to speak for them as to what they mean, but when you do say I am free or I am saved, things like this, it presumably refers to a permanent state of consciousness, does it not? A Christian may say I am saved from the prison of eternal hellfire or something, but nonetheless, when we yogis say I am free, it means we're free from karma. Doesn't mean that we're free from the effects of karma, the consequences of karma, but I'm no longer seeing myself as the doer of actions. I am free. My impulses, my actions, thoughts, desires, feelings, etc., are all in tune with the soul's inner guidance, which is to say with the infinite spirit, with God. And so free or being saved means I'm saved from delusion. But at the same time, there's this conversation that Swami Kriyananda reported once, that Yogananda talked in this way, and one of the disciples there in the small group said, well, sir, if I say I am free, I'm not free, am I? And everyone chuckled a bit, and Yogananda said, well, that's because you obviously don't think you're free. So, there's so many paradoxes in life, and the spiritual path is by no means an exception. So though we may be weighted down by habits and impulses and the karmic effects of past actions, perhaps living in poverty or ill health, or can never quite keep or get a job, or a decent, good relationship, etc., it is still considered valuable to affirm freedom. As I have referred to, I think even in my last broadcast the day before today, yesterday that is, every night we're free. In fact, the blessing and the refreshment of sleep is not just a biological consequence of the sleep state. We would go mad, Yogananda once said, if we did not have the blessings of sleep, because every night we are free from our personality. And that's the real prison. A personality, along with the body, represents the prison of bars. The bones are the bars, and we're imprisoned. And yet at night, we're free, even in the dream state, which is only partial freedom. Because, as I said yesterday, we can get nightmares, and that doesn't feel very free. And in any case, dreams are a little bit silly. Anyway, it's only a partial freedom. At least in a dream, you can fly, you can do all sorts of things that you can't do with the physical body in day to day. So it's a kind of freedom, but you don't have very much control of subconscious dreams. But in the dreamless state that follows the dream state experience each night, we are free. Now, when we meditate, our goal is to be calm, quiet, and achieve a kind of mindfulness, meaning not just your own ego mind. That's what most people mean. I'm watching my thoughts, I can see what I think and feel, and that really helps me because I become more self-aware. That's a perfectly good thing to do. But the real mindfulness is to be mindful of the higher state beyond your thoughts, which is a state of pure consciousness. Now that has many, many levels, and we're not going to get into that. But what I want to say, though, use the illustration. Now I have a window here. I'm looking out the window. If I look out the window and kind of daydream, but maybe not dream like in having thoughts or fantasies or imagination, but I just sort of stare out the window, I'm not going blank, I'm still somewhat aware, but when we do that, that's a kind of freedom. That's at least a common example of gives us, like sleep, a kind of taste of freedom. But for those of us who meditate, and even though it may not happen all the time, or as often as we'd like, when we achieve a state of quietude, when the mind is still, the heart is at rest, and the body's relaxed, it's a taste of that freedom. And so it is often said, and this was that interchange with Yogananda, we should affirm our freedom. Even as the poem says, even in the midst of what isn't freedom, we would do well to affirm our freedom at every turn. Swami Kriyananda talked about, and we often share the story of how he quit smoking, and like Mark Twain, he did it 100 times. It's really easy to do. But he said he was a young man, aged 20 or something, and he knew he would give it up. And when he resolved to become a hermit, and he couldn't reconcile the thought of smoking and at the same time as being a hermit. I mean, hermits don't smoke, do they? At least that's what he thought. He found it much easier. He had a new sort of self-identity. And so he had the grace to know that he would give it up. And one day he reached that state of consciousness, of inner freedom. He gave it up. He even walked around with a pack of cigarettes, giving out cigarettes to his friends who liked to smoke still, and yet he never touched another one. So the affirmation that I am free is valuable. The other illustration given is like what it's the example of pulling a nail out of the board with the claw end of the hammer. You're just, you just never know when that nail's going to come flying out of the board. And the other aspect of the value of the affirmation is that our soul is free. And our soul is the source of our very existence, at least as distinct from, our separate existence, stems from the individuality inherent in the soul itself. And so when we affirm our freedom, even in the midst of, our challenges, it's the right affirmation. In the practice of the mindfulness technique of Hong Sa, the mantra Hong Sa, watching the breath, one of the instructions given is that when we discover that the subconscious mind has carried our concentration away, has taken it prisoner and carried it away, the instruction given when we realize that is just to let it go, bring back your attention to the breath and to the mantra as if nothing happened. Because on a soul level, we were there all the time. You have to be present to win. Isn't that what they used to say with the gas station sweepstakes and stuff like that? Well, you have to be present. Well, they would say you don't have to be present to win, but in yoga, you have to be present to win, because that's practicing the presence, the only reality being right here and now. And in this moment, right here and now, you are free. If you affirm it. You can't find freedom without seeking it, however, even though it's right there in front of your nose, or maybe behind your nose, up here. Nonetheless, it is the right affirmation. And to distill from our nightly experience of sleep the feeling of freedom, but even more importantly, to distill from the experience that we do have in meditation. As I said, maybe not as often as we'd like, but we do have the experience of, especially after our practices, or like many of us practice Kriya Yoga, which is an advanced technique, but there are times when the joy just surges, had powerful surges of joy and expansiveness of consciousness and devotion and so forth, and that's freedom. So whether in the midst of your practices or in the still state of inner communion that follows our practices, distill, be a distiller, be an alchemist in which you change the gross materials of your subconscious and conscious mind and your ego and personality. You distill from that this quietude, this joy, this all-embracing, all-transforming love that is behind there. You see, this is what he's talking about in this poem, Freedom. We have to make that affirmation, and to use that affirmation not just when we're feeling good, when we're in the zone, but even when we're down in the dumps. I am free, no birth, no death, no caste have I, mind nor intellect, nor ego feeling. I am free in myself. I am free. All right, see you tomorrow, or maybe you'll see me tomorrow. This is a one-way conversation, I admit, but I'll feel that you're there and you can see me.